In the past, the three-point shooter is commonly playing the guard position. But with the game evolving throughout the years, even the big guys can now sink the three. And of course, new three-point records are easily made.
24-point lead.
Still, some of these records will probably stand the test of time. Many of them are held by one man, the trigger man, Allan Caidic.
Won't go. Abe King. Baseball pitch to Allan Caidic. Is this it? Yes.
Caidic actually made history twice in terms of scoring and three-point shooting. On November 2, 1989, Caidic scored 68 points and hit 15 triples during Presto's 175-159 overtime win against Alaska. He broke the old scoring record of 64 points, jointly held by Bogs Adornado and Danny Florencio, as well as a three-point mark of 14 threes of import Jose Slaughter.
Highest output for a local. Danny Florencio, 64 points, has been erased. He already has a total of 66.
Couple of months back, yes. And Allan Caidic getting his first 2 points of the quarter.
Over 2 years later, Caidic reset the records by exploding for 79 points and 17 threes in a 162-149 Presto win versus Ginebra. On that day, Caidic also set new marks for most points in a half, most in a quarter, most threes in a quarter, and most threes attempted.
Noong araw na yun, actually, nasa ospital yung misis niya, mga kanak. And nandun na siya sa ospital, no? But since sabi ng doktor, hindi pa naman lalabas, baka gusto mo maglaro kasi very anxious siya sa ospital eh. Tinanong niya yung pamilya kasi sabi ng doktor, why don't you just play, no? Para makarelax ka na lang. So he asked the relatives, they all said, sige, go ahead, no? Kami na bahala rito muna. Yung record niya was done in just 3 quarters of action. Ganun kagaling yung scoring outburst na yun mula kay the trigger man, Allan Caidic. Sinasabi natin na he's really probably the best local scorer we've ever had in the PBA. Simply because ang galing talaga ng kamay.
If I remember it right, most of his teammates from Abe King, who was the team's leader at that time, to Manny Victorino, and even to the others like Apet Howe and Onchi de la Cruz and Willie Naradao, were all willing to give up the ball to Allan just for him to be able to make that record. Allan has always been a very good shooter, even way back during his UE days in the UAAP. He had his shootouts with Pido Harencio of UST during that time. He once scored 50 points in the UAAP, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing is, what made him an effective shooter was because of his ability to move around without the ball.
The 1990 PBA MVP was also the first local to hit more than 10 threes, but 4 other players joined him later on. June 11, 2003, Kenneth Doremdes joined Caidic after making 10 threes for Santa Lucia in an All-Filipino Cup game versus San Miguel. Another player would not hit that milestone until 12 years later. On July 4, 2015, San Miguel's Marshall Lassiter waxed hot and fired 10 trays in a Governor's Cup game, although his Beermen lost a close one against Rain or Shine. TNT's Roger Pugoy entered the spotlight 4 years later when he also sank 10 threes in a Commissioner's Cup win over Ginebra on June 12, 2019.
Here's a bullet pass. Pugoy aims with a three.
Definitely may chance si Roger Pugoy to be one of the best shooters ever. You can see it, the potential is there na may mga times na parang in the zone talaga si RR. Kahit anong angulo sa 3-point line, although he likes the right side, I think better than the left. May mga bato siya na nandyan yung defender sa mukha niya, pumapasok pa rin.
Another SMB player joined that elite company a month after Pugoy. When Chris Ross caught fire and buried 10 in a big win over Rain or Shine on July 29.
Instead of going 1-1, Ross na naman!
Caidic also shares a couple of records with 2 other players. The triggerman is tied with Ren Ritualo in terms of most threes in a quarter and most consecutive three-pointers made.
Here's Ritualo. Fires! Scores!
On April 29, 2005, Ritualo drained 8 consecutive trays and finished with 9 in a 111-106 victory by FedEx over Red Bull. San Miguel's Von Pesumal also joined Caidic and Ritualo for hitting the most consecutive threes by draining 8 in a Beerman loss to TNT on June 8, 2019. Pesumal didn't miss from downtown that night, which makes him the record holder for most threes in a game without missing. Over the years, a lot of power forwards and centers developed three-point shots to extend their careers and add new dimension to their games. Patrimonio and Nelson Aceitono weren't your typical shooters, but they became solid enough to make defenders pay from downtown. Patrimonio, who retired as the third best scorer in PBA history, tallied 357 threes in 857 games. Aceitono, who's still number 5 all-time in scoring, made 441 in 820 games. More shooting big men followed as the decades passed. Some of the best ones include Bo Belga of Rain or Shine, who has hit 334 threes so far. There's also TNT's Jay Washington, who just crossed 400 threes after the 2020 PBA season. Barangay Ginebra's Joe Devance is higher up the list at number 39 all-time with 536 long bombs thus far. Inside the top 20 are 4 big men. Former TNT star Ranidel de Ocampo, one of the best stretch forwards of his era, retired with 817 threes in 646 games. Pushing past him just recently was Blackwater's KG Canaleta, who ranks 14th with 839 threes. 17-year veteran Mick Penisi, meanwhile, sits at number 9 with 963 triples to his name. Leapfrogging past all these big men is Arwin Santos, who in 2020 became just the 8th player in history to make 1,000 three-pointers. At 6'4", the 2013 MVP is also the tallest player to reach that mark. The 9-time PBA champion tied Al Solis at number 7 all-time during San Miguel's last game of the Philippine Cup on November 15, 2020. Actual games aren't the only place a player can showcase his shooting skills. Every year in the PBA All-Star Game, the best snipers can test themselves against fellow shooters in the three-point contest. The first ever winner of the shootout was, you guessed it, Allan Caidic in 1992. Caidic beat Ronnie Magsanok 10-7 in the championship round to take the trophy. Since then, there have been 17 winners, 7 of them winning the shootout twice. The first 2-time winner was the late Rick Marata, who bagged the title in 1994 and 96. Pop Cola's Jasper Ocampo became the first back-to-back winner in 1998 and 99. After Ocampo came Boyd Fernandez of Pure Foods, who also went back-to-back in 2000 and 2001. Talk and Text star Jimmy Elapag, meanwhile, took home the crown twice in 2003 and 2005.
Launch it.
Mark Macapagal became the only player to win the three-point shootout more than twice, winning it for 3 straight seasons from 2010 to 2012 before clinching his last in 2014.
Tataas ng ating mga scores, really came down the wire for Mark Macapagal.
And they also have...
After Macapagal, Global Port's Terence Romeo dominated the shootout for 2 straight seasons in 2015 and 2016.
Still going on.
James Yap then won his second shootout in 2018, 9 years after bringing home his first trophy in the event.
Boy, Yap emerging as the champion.